Everyone wants to be the best, but very few are willing to do what it actually takes to become the best. Because becoming the best at anything doesn't come from talent alone. It's not about luck, background, or connections. It's about the rules you live by. You either have rules that guide you to rise, or you follow no rules and stay stuck in cycles of mediocrity. The difference between people who achieve greatness and those who live in regret comes down to principles, rules they refuse to break. So if you're tired of watching others pass you by, if you're done with just surviving and you're ready to thrive, then follow these 8 rules, and I promise your life will never be the same. Discipline is the foundation of all success, the silent force behind every great achievement. It's not flashy, it doesn't scream for attention, but it's always there, grinding, pushing, steady. And if you truly want to become the best at anything in life, this is where it all begins. Without discipline, all your dreams remain just that, dreams, nothing more. Because talent can only take you so far. Intelligence can give you an edge, but without discipline, even the smartest people end up wasting their potential. Discipline is what separates those who talk from those who execute. People often wait for motivation, thinking that they need to feel a spark of inspiration before they act. But the harsh truth is motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. Some days you feel it, and some days you don't. If you rely on motivation to get things done, you'll only take action when it's easy, when it's convenient, when it's fun. That's not how greatness is built. Champions are not created in moments of convenience. They're created in moments of resistance. When your body is tired, your mind is drained, and everything inside you says, take a break, but you still show up, that's discipline. It's about doing what needs to be done, especially when you don't want to do it. The best don't negotiate with themselves. They don't argue with their own minds. They don't let feelings run their schedule. They wake up when they say they will. They train when they don't feel like it. They study even when their mind wanders. They write, build, create, lead on schedule. Because their commitment is greater than their comfort. It's not that they don't have temptations. It's not that they don't feel weak or tired or unmotivated. They just know how to move forward regardless of those feelings. Discipline is about consistency. It's about forming habits that reinforce the person you want to become. And here's the truth. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you are casting a vote for the future you. You're shaping your character. You're building momentum. You're forging an identity that doesn't quit. Every skipped workout, every delayed decision, every I'll do it tomorrow chips away at your potential. But every time you show up, especially on the hard days, you strengthen your foundation. You prove to yourself that you can be trusted. And that kind of self-trust is rare. It's powerful. It's what creates unshakable confidence. Discipline isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up over and over again. It's about making your habits stronger than your excuses. Because when you do something consistently, it becomes who you are. You no longer need to force it. You just live it. It becomes automatic. And this is where the true magic happens. You go from being someone who tries to someone who simply is. You stop looking for shortcuts because you become the kind of person who enjoys the process. You embrace the grind because you've tasted what it's like to win on your own terms, to beat the old version of yourself. And let's be honest, in today's world, discipline is a superpower. Most people don't have it. Most people give up the second things get uncomfortable. They seek distraction. They seek pleasure. They seek the easy way out. That's why being disciplined puts you in a category of your own. It makes you stand out. It gives you an edge that no one can take from you. Not the economy, not the competition, not life's circumstances. Because when you have discipline, you can adapt, adjust, and keep moving forward no matter what's happening around you. The path to becoming the best is not a straight line. It's messy, it's challenging, it will break you and test you and tempt you to walk away. But discipline is the glue that holds it all together. It's what keeps you moving when progress feels slow. It's what gets you back up after failure. It's what helps you focus when everyone else is distracted. And it doesn't just help you perform, it transforms who you are on a deep level. It strengthens your mind, it sharpens your character, it gives you the kind of inner power that money can't buy and talent can't replace. There will be days when you feel like quitting. There will be moments when the world tells you to slow down, to give yourself a break, to take the easy road. But if you remember who you are and why you started, if you hold yourself to a higher standard than the one the world sets for you, you will become someone even you are proud of, because you didn't fold when things got hard. You didn't let feelings decide your future. You chose discipline, you chose growth, you chose greatness. Rule number 2 is about mastering your mindset, because everything begins and ends in your mind. Your thoughts shape your reality. Your beliefs guide your actions. The way you interpret the world, the way you talk to yourself, the way you respond to adversity, these things determine your entire path. If your mind is weak, even the smallest challenge can break you. But if your mind is strong, even the heaviest storms can't stop you. That's why becoming the best requires more than just physical effort or external resources. It demands complete mental control. Most people don't even realize they're at war with their own thoughts. They carry around limiting beliefs they've inherited from childhood, from society, from past failures. They tell themselves they're not good enough, not smart enough, not talented enough. They sabotage their own progress before it even begins. And the worst part is they think those thoughts are facts, but they're not. They're just stories. Stories you've been telling yourself for so long that they feel like truth. And if you don't challenge them, they will define your future. The way to rise above average is to take full ownership of your inner dialogue. You have to become conscious of the thoughts that run through your mind every single day. You have to observe them without judgment and question them with courage. Why do you believe you can't succeed? Why do you hesitate when opportunity knocks? Why do you shrink when you should stand tall? Until you face those questions, you'll always live in the shadow of your own doubt, and you'll never become the best while dragging the weight of a defeated mindset. Powerful mind isn't born, it's built. It's built through repetition, through discomfort, through intentional thought. You train your body in the gym, but you train your mind in the silence, in the stillness, in the moments no one sees. When you feel fear rising, you confront it. When you hear your inner critic speaking, you silence it. When your mind starts imagining worst-case scenarios, you redirect it towards solutions. It's not easy. It takes discipline, patience, and daily effort. But with each mental rep, you become stronger. With each day of resilience, you take back control. Becoming mentally strong doesn't mean you never feel afraid. It doesn't mean you're never uncertain or shaken. It means you refuse to let those emotions control your decisions. You feel fear and act anyway. You face doubt and move forward anyway. You take action in spite of the noise in your head because you know that clarity comes through movement, not waiting. A strong mind doesn't seek comfort, it seeks growth. It understands that pressure creates diamonds, and every challenge is a new chance to level up. If you want to become the best, you need to protect your mental energy like your life depends on it, because in many ways it does. You can't afford to entertain negativity. You can't let toxic people poison your thoughts. You can't spend your time consuming things that weaken your perspective. Everything you watch, read, and listen to feeds your mind. So choose wisely. Feed your mind the way a warrior feeds his body, intentionally, deliberately, and for strength. Because what goes in will eventually come out in your actions, your reactions, your beliefs, and your results. You must also stop comparing your journey to others. That is one of the greatest destroyers of confidence and mental power. Comparison is a trap that turns your focus outward when it should be directed inward. Everyone's path is different. Everyone's timing is different. You're not late. You're not behind. You're right where you need to be. But if you keep looking at what others have, you'll miss the greatness that's trying to emerge within you. You'll overlook the progress you're making. You'll forget how far you've come. The only person you need to compete with is the person you were yesterday. And when the hard days come, and they will, you must remind yourself of your purpose. Why did you start this journey? Who do you want to become? What legacy do you want to leave behind? When you keep those questions close, they'll anchor you when your mind starts to drift. They'll guide you back to your path when life tries to pull you away. Your mindset becomes your compass. It keeps you focused, centered, and unshakable in a world full of distractions and pressure. You won't always feel ready. You won't always feel confident, but you can always choose to think with strength. You can always choose to believe in your ability to figure it out. You can always choose to act with courage, even if your voice trembles. That is the real power of a strong mindset. It's not about never struggling. It's about never staying down. It's about training your mind to rise every time it falls, to focus when it wants to wander, to push when it wants to quit. That's how you become the best, not just in what you do, but in who you are becoming. Rule number 3 is to be brutally consistent, because consistency is the one trait that bridges the gap between average and exceptional. It's easy to start something with enthusiasm. It's easy to feel inspired and declare your goals out loud. It's even easy to go hard for a week, maybe a month, but the ones who win, the ones who become the best, aren't the ones who started the strongest. They're the ones who refuse to stop. Day in and day out, they show up, whether they feel like it or not, whether it's fun or not, whether they're praised or completely ignored. They keep moving forward because they understand something most people don't. Consistency compounds. Every little action repeated over time creates something powerful. Every workout, every journal entry, every study session, every hour of practice, it adds up, not in a single day, not even in a single month, but over time, those tiny efforts become unstoppable momentum. And yet, most people give up before that momentum kicks in. They don't see immediate results, so they quit. They don't feel motivated, so they skip a day. Then that one day becomes 2, then a week. Then they look back and wonder why nothing's changing. It's because they never stayed long enough to see the harvest from the seeds they planted. Consistency is not about perfection. It's not about never missing a beat. It's about making the decision again and again to keep going even after you mess up, even after you fall off track, even after you lose motivation. Everyone slips. Everyone faces resistance, but not everyone gets back up. The ones who rise are the ones who make consistency their identity. It's no longer something they try to do. It's just who they are. They don't need to be reminded, begged, or pushed. They understand that greatness is earned in the shadows, in the repetition, in the mundane moments that no one else sees. Being consistent means creating routines that support your goals and committing to them without needing external applause. It means showing up for your future self. It means understanding that boring is part of the process. There will be days when the excitement wears off, when the novelty fades, when nothing seems to be happening. But those are the days that matter the most, because when you push through the boring days, the quiet days, the hard days, you train your mind and body to be disciplined beyond emotion. You become unshakable. And people will ask you how you got there. They'll look for the secret, the trick, the shortcut, but you'll know the truth. You'll know it wasn't a single moment that made you. It was the 1,000 small decisions you made when no one was watching. The early mornings when you didn't hit snooze. The late nights when you chose discipline over distraction. The moments when you kept going, not because it was easy, but because it mattered. That's the real secret. That's how the best are made. Not in a flash of brilliance, but in a lifetime of consistency. When you commit to consistency, you remove the need for willpower. You stop making the same decisions every day. You build habits that carry you through resistance. You automate your progress, and that gives you freedom. Freedom to focus on your craft, your mission, your legacy, because you're no longer wasting energy trying to convince yourself to act. You just do it. It becomes second nature. And this kind of rhythm, this kind of flow is what turns ordinary people into legends. But consistency also demands patience. And patience is hard in a world addicted to speed. Everyone wants results fast. Everyone wants overnight transformation. But real mastery doesn't come from intensity. It comes from consistency over time. It comes from falling in love with the process, not just the outcome. You can't microwave excellence. You have to build it brick by brick, layer by layer. And that requires trust in the process, trust in yourself, trust that your effort is not being wasted even when you can't see the results yet. Being consistent also builds credibility with yourself. Every time you show up, you strengthen your confidence. You prove to yourself that you're dependable. And that self-belief becomes a foundation you can build anything on. When you're consistent, you no longer rely on outside validation. You know your worth because you see your own actions align with your goals. You become grounded, focused, and dangerous in the best way possible because you've built something within that no one can take from you. Most people never reach their full potential, not because they lack talent, but because they lack consistency. They stop, they start over, they second guess, they wait for the perfect moment that never comes. And in doing so, they let life slip by. But not you. You choose to be consistent. You choose to show up regardless of emotion, noise, or outcome. You choose to become better, not by chance, and that's how you rise. That's how you evolve. That's how you become the best. Rule number 4 is to protect your environment with relentless intention because your surroundings shape your standards. You cannot become your greatest self while drowning in toxic influences, draining conversations, or people who secretly hope you fail. Every voice you listen to, every space you spend time in, and every energy you allow near you is either feeding your purpose or starving it. Growth doesn't just come from what you do, it also comes from what you allow around you. If you surround yourself with mediocrity, it will infect you. If you surround yourself with small thinkers, you will unconsciously shrink to fit their level. And if you expose yourself to chaos, don't be surprised when your life starts to feel unsteady. The truth is, the people closest to you are either building your confidence or breaking it. They're either challenging you to rise higher or convincing you to settle. And while we often want to be loyal, to keep the peace, to avoid difficult decisions, you have to understand something. Your future depends on the quality of your environment. And not everyone can go with you where you're headed. Some people are only meant for a chapter, not the whole book. Some people only loved the version of you that stayed small, agreeable, and insecure. The moment you start evolving, the moment you start taking your growth seriously, those people will feel threatened, not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're doing something they're too afraid to do themselves. And that's when you have to be courageous enough to choose yourself, to walk away from the comfort of familiarity and step into the discomfort of transformation. Not everyone deserves access to your energy. Not everyone should have a seat at your table. Some people have proven through their behavior, their words, their lack of support, that they're not invested in your evolution, and keeping them close out of guilt or nostalgia will cost you more than letting them go ever would. You don't have to hate them. You don't have to argue. You just have to rise and let distance speak louder than confrontation ever could. But environment isn't just about people. It's about everything that enters your mental, emotional, and physical space. It's the content you consume, the habits you allow, the way your room looks, the music you play, the thoughts you entertain. It's the difference between waking up to a chaotic, disorganized mess and waking up to a space that breathes clarity and focus. Your outer world reflects your inner world. If you want to become the best, You have to create an environment that matches the identity you're stepping into. That means cleaning up your space, setting boundaries, and being intentional about what you allow into your mind. So many people try to change their life without changing their environment, and they wonder why nothing sticks. You can't keep going back to the same atmosphere and expect a different result. If your surroundings keep pulling you into old patterns, you'll never break free. That's why it's not just about motivation, it's about construction. You have to build a life that supports who you want to become. You have to intentionally design your environment so that excellence becomes the default, not the exception. That means surrounding yourself with people who challenge you, spaces that energize you, and routines that push you forward. And the hardest part? Sometimes the most toxic part of your environment is your own voice. The way you talk to yourself, the way you minimize your worth, the way you doubt your capability. So part of protecting your environment is reprogramming your self-talk. You have to catch yourself when you slip into negative thinking and consciously shift. Speak life over yourself. Affirm your vision. Replace destructive thoughts with empowering ones, because your mind is sacred ground, and what you plant there will grow. You can't afford to let weeds take root. You can't afford to be your own worst enemy. You have to be your strongest ally. When you take full control of your environment, you stop leaving your success up to chance. You eliminate distractions before they derail you. You stop entertaining people who drain your energy. You choose your atmosphere instead of just tolerating it. And from that space, you gain clarity, you gain power, you gain momentum, because now you're no longer trying to thrive in a place that suffocates your potential. You've created a new standard, a new normal, one that aligns with greatness, one that demands the best from you, one that leaves no room for anything less than excellence. Rule number 5 is to learn how to master delayed gratification, because the ability to wait for what's worth it is one of the greatest predictors of long-term success. In a world obsessed with speed, instant results, and overnight fame, this rule separates the truly disciplined from those who just dabble. When you learn how to delay gratification, you step into a realm where most people never reach, because you stop chasing what feels good right now and start investing in what's going to matter later. You start building instead of reacting. You start choosing purpose over pleasure, and that shift changes everything. Most people lose because they give in too early. They quit right before the breakthrough. They choose the high of the moment instead of the satisfaction of mastery. They spend money the moment it hits their account instead of saving it for something that can multiply it. They eat what tastes good today instead of nourishing their body for tomorrow. They scroll to feel entertained instead of reading to grow their mind. It's not that they don't want better lives, it's that they haven't developed the muscle to wait. They haven't trained themselves to hold out for a bigger reward, and as a result, they stay stuck in cycles that never lead to fulfillment. The ones who become great aren't the ones who chase pleasure. They're the ones who can say no to what doesn't align with their long-term vision. They understand that every shortcut comes with a price. They know that the satisfaction of achieving something you worked hard for is far more powerful than anything temporary. They see the value in struggle, in discomfort, in sacrifice, because they know it's part of the path. They don't expect the reward today. They expect it after years of showing up. And that mindset gives them a psychological edge. It makes them unstoppable in a world that gives up at the first sign of delay. Learning how to delay gratification means becoming someone who's not driven by impulses. It means you can see a temptation, feel it pulling at you, and still choose what serves your future instead of your craving. That's not weakness, that's power. That's control, that's self-respect. Because when you deny yourself the lesser reward, you're proving to yourself that you're not a slave to your environment or your emotions. You're in charge. You're intentional. You're dangerous in the best possible way. But this isn't something that just happens. It has to be trained. It has to be tested. It has to be refined through repetition. You have to practice saying no to yourself. You have to get used to feeling uncomfortable and not running from it. You have to remind yourself again and again why you started and why it matters more than anything you could give into right now. Every time you delay gratification, you're strengthening your willpower. You're hardwiring your brain to prioritize the long game. You're proving that you're not just chasing dopamine, you're chasing purpose. This is where most people struggle. They confuse discomfort with failure. They think if something feels hard, it must be wrong. But growth lives in the places that are hard. It lives in the early mornings when you'd rather sleep. It lives in the discipline to stick to your budget when everyone else is spending. It lives in the quiet work, the lonely hours, the sacrifice. And if you can learn to love that space, if you can learn to be at peace with the delay, you will develop a mental toughness that no one can take from you. Delayed gratification also helps you build trust with yourself. When you set a goal and you actually stick with the process without needing an immediate payoff, you start to believe in your ability to follow through. That builds self-esteem. That builds resilience. That builds a reputation with yourself that says, I can count on me. And in a world where people constantly break promises to themselves, being able to trust your own word is a rare superpower. It means you won't be thrown off course by every distraction or emotional dip. It means you're grounded in something deeper than how you feel in the moment. The reward for mastering this principle is massive. Not just in success, but in peace, because you no longer need everything to happen right now to feel good about yourself. You can wait, you can build, you can plant seeds and water them knowing they'll grow. You understand that the process is the point and the reward is just a reflection of the patience and consistency you've practiced for so long. You become immune to shortcuts, immune to noise, immune to anything that doesn't match your higher vision. You don't need to impress anyone. You don't need to chase shiny things. You're focused, locked in, and calm because you know exactly where you're going and you're willing to wait for it. Rule number 6 is to develop emotional resilience because the journey to becoming the best is not smooth. It's brutal, unpredictable, and often lonely. No matter how talented you are, how clear your goals are, or how prepared you feel, you will be tested. Life will hit you with things you never saw coming: loss, betrayal, failure, disappointment. And in those moments, the difference between those who rise and those who crumble is emotional strength. Not everyone makes it, not because they lacked skills or resources, but because they didn't know how to handle the pressure that comes with real growth. And that's why this rule is non-negotiable. Emotional resilience doesn't mean you don't feel pain. It doesn't mean you're numb or robotic. It means you learn how to feel deeply without falling apart. You face what hurts without letting it destroy your spirit. You get knocked down, but instead of staying there, you choose to get back up with more wisdom, more courage, more clarity. It's not about avoiding hardship. It's about becoming strong enough to carry it. It's about looking difficulty in the face and saying, you won't define me. People who lack emotional resilience are constantly at the mercy of their emotions. They're high one moment, low the next. One criticism can break them. One failure can stop them. One betrayal can turn them bitter. But the ones who master this rule have something different inside them. They don't just react, they respond. They know how to pause, process, and proceed. They understand that emotions are real, but they aren't permanent. They let their emotions pass through them without allowing them to take over. That's power. And this power is built over time. It starts with awareness, being able to catch yourself when you're spiraling, being able to recognize when you're triggered. It continues with control, Not stuffing your emotions down, but choosing not to let them dictate your decisions, because you're not your anger. You're not your anxiety. You're not your sadness. You're something deeper. And when you can access that deeper part of you, the grounded, centered, resilient part, that's when you become unshakable. You're going to face rejection. You're going to feel misunderstood. You're going to have moments when you wonder if all your effort is even worth it. And it's in those moments that emotional resilience becomes your anchor. When everything feels like it's falling apart, your ability to remain steady will be your superpower. You don't crumble under pressure, you crystallize. You don't let emotions lead you, you use them to grow. Pain becomes your teacher. Failure becomes feedback. Every setback becomes fuel. The truth is, the higher you go, the more pressure you will feel. The more visible you become, the more criticism you'll attract. The more risks you take, the more failures you'll encounter. And if your emotions control you, they'll eventually sabotage everything you're trying to build. But if you control your emotions, if you can stand in the fire without flinching, if you can keep your mind calm while everything around you is chaos, then nothing can stop you, because resilience is the foundation that every other strength stands on. It also means learning how to forgive, not for them, but for you. Holding on to resentment drains your energy. Carrying bitterness poisons your vision. You can't move forward if you're chained to what hurt you. Emotional resilience is the ability to let go of what doesn't serve your growth. It's the strength to release the past and focus fully on what's in front of you. And that doesn't make you weak. It makes you free, because the strongest people are the ones who know how to protect their peace. You also have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Resilient people don't expect life to feel good all the time. They expect adversity. They expect challenge. And because of that, they're never thrown off course when things get hard. They don't need life to be easy in order to be great. They've trained themselves to be great despite how hard life gets. And that's what makes them stand out. When others are breaking down, they're breaking through. One of the most powerful things emotional resilience gives you is stability. Not just on the outside, but on the inside. When your emotions are regulated, your decisions improve, your relationships improve, your energy improves. You stop living in constant reaction mode and start living with intention. You stop chasing validation and start creating from a place of inner strength. People can feel that kind of power. It's magnetic. It's inspiring. It makes people trust you, follow you, and believe in you. But more importantly, it makes you believe in yourself, not just when things are going well, but especially when they're not. You don't need a perfect life to be powerful. You need the mental and emotional strength to keep showing up no matter what life throws at you. You need the resilience to keep loving when you've been hurt, to keep believing when you've been doubted, and to keep building when nothing is going your way. Because eventually the tide turns, the storm passes, and when it does, the ones still standing are the ones who knew how to bend without breaking. Rule number 7 is to create a personal standard so high that even your average days look like excellence to other people. When you raise your standard, you don't just elevate your performance, you elevate your entire identity. You stop living like everyone else because you know you're not here to blend in. You're here to set the tone. You're here to lead by example. You're here to make your life speak so loudly that it doesn't need to be explained. And that doesn't come from waiting for motivation. It comes from holding yourself to a level of discipline, integrity, and effort that most people aren't willing to sustain. This is where true confidence begins, not in what you say, but in what you expect from yourself. Because when you start demanding more from yourself than anyone else could ever ask of you, you develop a kind of internal authority that can't be faked. You walk into rooms differently. You speak with conviction. You take action with clarity, and it's not arrogance, it's certainty. Because you know you're doing the work. You know you're showing up on the days you don't feel like it. You know you're building something real, something solid, something lasting. Most people operate on default. They do just enough to get by, just enough to meet the deadline, just enough to not get criticized. But the best, they go far beyond enough. They go beyond what's required and into what's possible. They make excellence their normal. They don't need someone watching them. They don't need applause. They don't need rewards. Their reward is knowing that they gave everything, that they left nothing on the table, that they didn't cheat the process. Because when you operate at that level, life begins to open up for you in ways that can't be explained by luck or timing. It's your standard attracting everything that aligns with it. This is the point where you stop comparing yourself to others. You stop measuring your success by what others are doing or achieving. You lock in on your standard and you make it non-negotiable. You don't drop it just because people around you are comfortable with mediocrity. You don't dilute it just because others don't understand your drive. You keep it high, and eventually it creates a filter. The wrong people fall away. The right people are drawn in. The opportunities shift. Your reality bends around the bar you've set for yourself. That's not just motivation. That's transformation. And it's not about perfection. It's about consistency. It's about doing the small things with excellence until they stack up into something extraordinary. It's how you show up when no one's watching. It's how you respond to failure, how you manage your habits, how you speak to yourself when things don't go your way. It's your attitude, your energy, your follow through. All of it either reflects a high standard or the lack of one. And the truth is, people can feel it. They can sense when you take yourself seriously, when you respect your craft, when you're intentional with your time. That energy can't be faked. The beauty of a high personal standard is that it builds self-trust. When you know you're holding yourself accountable at all times, you don't question your worth. You don't need to seek approval. You become your own validation. You know what you stand for. You know what you won't tolerate. You know what level of performance you expect. And when you don't hit it, you don't make excuses, you correct it. That kind of self-governance is rare. And it's why the people who have it rise so quickly. They're not waiting to be pushed. They're driven from within. This rule also means taking radical responsibility for your life. You don't blame your circumstances. You don't point fingers. You don't explain away mediocrity. You own your choices. You own your habits. You own your progress. And when something's not working, you don't complain. You adjust. You learn, you upgrade, you apply pressure in the right places until things begin to shift. That's what high standards demand, complete ownership. And when you start living like that, you stop settling, you stop tolerating anything that's out of alignment with who you're becoming. And yes, people will be uncomfortable with it. They'll call you too intense, too focused, too much. But what they're really saying is that your standard is exposing their lack of one. And that's not your problem to fix. Your job isn't to shrink so others feel comfortable. It's to expand so others have permission to grow. Your life becomes a mirror that shows what's possible. And the more consistent you are with your standard, the more people start to realize that excellence isn't some mysterious gift. It's a decision backed by action, practiced every single day. Rule number 8 is to never stop evolving. Because the moment you believe you've arrived is the moment you begin to decline. Greatness is not a destination. It's a moving target. No matter how much you've achieved, no matter how far you've come, there's always another level waiting for you. And the ones who truly become the best aren't the ones who rest on past accomplishments. They're the ones who remain students forever. They stay curious, humble, hungry. They wake up every day knowing that there's something new to learn, some weakness to improve, some edge to sharpen, and that mindset is what keeps them ahead. You see, evolution isn't just about learning more. It's about letting go of what no longer serves you. It's about shedding the layers that once helped you survive, but are now holding you back. It's recognizing that growth often means outgrowing people, environments, habits, and even versions of yourself. You cannot become who you're meant to be by staying who you've always been. There's a cost to transformation, and the ones who evolve are the ones who are willing to pay it. They're not afraid to start over. They're not afraid to be uncomfortable. They don't need everything to be familiar. They just need everything to be aligned with their future. And the future only belongs to those who are ready for it, because change is coming. Whether you're prepared or not, life will evolve with or without your permission. Technology will shift. Industries will transform. People will come and go. And if you're not evolving with it, if you're clinging to what worked 5 years ago, to strategies that are outdated, to mindsets that are expired, you'll get left behind. What made you successful at one stage can make you stagnant in the next if you don't adapt. Evolution demands that you stay relevant, not just skilled. It demands that you disrupt your own comfort before the world does it for you. That's why the best constantly reinvent themselves. They're not afraid to question their own beliefs, to challenge their own limits, to leave behind what once felt safe. They understand that evolution isn't weakness, it's wisdom, it's strength, it's the ability to stay dynamic in a world that never stops moving. And it takes courage, because to evolve, you have to admit that who you are today isn't enough for who you want to be tomorrow. That's not a criticism. It's an opportunity. It means you see yourself clearly. You see your gaps, and instead of avoiding them, you face them with relentless honesty. This rule also means you stop fearing change. Most people resist change because they associate it with loss. But those who evolve see change as gain. They see it as a doorway to the next version of their greatness. They embrace the unknown, not because it's easy, but because they trust that staying the same is far more dangerous. When you commit to evolution, you stop making decisions based on who you are. You start making decisions based on who you're becoming. And that shift changes everything. You begin to move with intention. You begin to think long term. You stop settling for things that only serve the present moment. Evolution also means being willing to unlearn. Sometimes it's not about adding more information. It's about removing the outdated programming that's been holding you back. The beliefs you picked up in childhood, the stories you've been telling yourself about who you are and what you can do, the fears that once protected you but now paralyze you. To evolve, you have to clear out the mental clutter. You have to challenge your inner narrative. You have to strip away the lies until only the truth remains. And when you do that, you unlock a level of freedom that most people never experience because they were too attached to the identity they built in survival mode. There's no end to this journey. You'll never reach a place where you're done. But that's the beauty of it. The best don't seek a finish line. They seek mastery. They find joy in the process, in the grind, in the small wins that compound over time. They measure success not just by what they achieve, but by how much they've grown along the way. Every failure becomes a pivot point. Every challenge becomes a training ground. Every season becomes a new lesson. Because to them, life isn't happening to them, it's happening for them. Every moment is a chance to evolve. Every obstacle is a signal that it's time to level up. Every ending is the beginning of something new. And the moment you make evolution your lifestyle, something incredible happens. You become unstoppable. Because nothing can break you when you're always building yourself stronger. Nothing can surprise you when you've trained yourself to adapt. Nothing can defeat you when you've committed to learning from every experience. You don't need certainty. You create momentum. You don't wait for things to be perfect. You get better in the process. You don't hold on to the past. You run toward the future. You live in constant alignment with your highest potential, knowing that no matter how great today is, tomorrow can be even better. You want to become the best? Then live by these 8 rules. Make them your code. Make them your identity. You're not here to be average. You're not here to blend in. You're here to dominate. So decide right now. Who are you becoming? What will you no longer tolerate? And what rules will define the rest of your life? This world doesn't need more people trying to fit in. It needs warriors, leaders, Visionaries, it needs you at your highest level. The crown doesn't go to the one who talks the loudest. It goes to the one who walks the longest, the one who lives the principles, the one who refuses to break. So follow these 8 rules. Let them shape you. Let them elevate you. Let them turn you into the kind of person no one can deny. Because when you live by the rules of the best, you become the best. And once you become the best, you don't chase success. Success chases you.